Okay, so I think the amount of people that have started joining has slowed down tremendously. So I think we'll go ahead and get started. And as they start, they end coming in, then they'll just catch up. But tonight we're going to have Gayla speak. I know last time we had Dr. Rosh from the vet school talk about admissions from her perspective as a assistant admissions, dean of admissions from the vet school. Gayla, however, is, as most of you will know, is the pre-vet advisor for the College of Arts and Sciences. So she's going to be talking today about what she has over her many years of being a pre-vet advisor, seen what a lot of her students have been successful in, and what she thinks is going to be good to have on applications and to make you a good vet student. So I'll go ahead and give her the floor. And then afterwards, after she's done with the meeting, we'll go ahead. I don't know if Gayla will want to do questions throughout her speaking or if she'll want to do questions at the end. So we'll go ahead and give her the floor. And then afterward, we're going to do officer reports to officially introduce all of the officers for this year. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Gayla right now.
Well, thank you. I'm Gayla, Adams-Wright. I'm the pre-vet advisor for students in the College of Arts and Sciences. And you can hear me, right? Maybe a couple people nod their head and okay, good. And so tonight I'm going to talk about being a competitive candidate. And so these are things that students should be doing if they want to prepare themselves to put their best foot forward in order to get into vet school. But a little bit about me. I introduced myself to the club officers the other meeting, but just so the rest of you know who I am. And I do want to record this. So somebody else is recording, and that reminds me, please request recording permission from the meeting host. So will you give me permission, Caitlin, to record this?
Yes, yeah, I'll give you permission. Let me figure out where that is.
Maybe you're already recording.
I am already recording it.
Okay. And if you could just send it to me, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay, super. Okay, so I've been an advisor at K-State for just over 16 years. I've advised pre-vet students a large part of that time, but I also work with some of the human health side of things. So chiropractic, optometry, medical laboratory science, physical therapy, occupational therapy, and a handful of others. OT, did I say that? And so I've been working with pre-health students for almost all of my career. Prior to that, I was a vocational rehabilitation counselor, and that job was me helping people with disabilities find employment. And so I worked a lot with healthcare providers. And so having that understanding and background of healthcare providers qualified me for the pre-health job. And I was raised on a farm. A lot of people are surprised to hear that or know that, but you know, I bottle-fed calves and I sheared sheep and we had rabbits and raised turkeys. And my dad was actually a cockfighter. It's something that I'm not necessarily proud of now that I'm an adult, but when I was younger, I didn't know any difference. And so he raised roosters to fight them. And when I was younger, I used to help him train them. And then at some point, you know, in my young years, I thought this is really mean and I'm not going to do this anymore. But my dad was raised in California. Both my parents were raised in California, and my dad just grew up, loved fighting roosters, and it was a passion that he took until he died at the age of 52. And so, being raised on a farm, being around animals, having a garden, lots of indoor and outdoor dogs and cats, I'm very familiar with that. So pre-vet advising made a lot of sense to me. Even though I might not be a veterinarian, I have some foundation in animal health and animal care, because this was definitely part of my upbringing for sure. So like I said earlier, this is just the presentation I'm going to talk about today are going to be things that students need to be thinking about as they prepare to apply to vet school. It's multifaceted, and with that I'm going to share the screen, and hopefully this will work. Host disabled participant share screening. So could you, I don't know if you have to make me host so I can screen share?
If I did know how to do that, then yes. Let me try and figure it out real quick.
Maybe if you
try that. I think I fixed it.
Yes. Perfect. Okay. So can you guys see the screen putting the pieces together? Wonderful. Okay. So the competitive applicant. So there are multiple pieces to being a competitive applicant. So it's more than just good grades. I have known plenty of 4.0 students that have not gotten into professional school, be it vet school or any other program. And the reason for that is that they haven't done these other things in order to be competitive. And so what I'm going to cover tonight are kind of these other things beyond just good grades. So grade point average. Unfortunately, it is one of the first things that professional schools will look at. And the reason for that is that they're going to have many more applicants than they have seats in their program. And so they want to make sure that the students that they admit to their program have a solid foundation. And the way that schools calculate the GPA is going to vary greatly from program to program. So some are going to use a cumulative GPA. I believe VMCAS does that when it calculates it. But then there's also a science, which oftentimes includes biology, chemistry, physics, and math. And then there's sometimes a non-science major, and then sometimes they look at only the prerequisite courses. And I believe the vet school does it at least 2 different ways, 3 ways, I believe. Cumulative, prereq only, and then the last 45 credit hours. That was my last understanding of how they evaluated a student. Oh, the other thing I want to say is that if you will write your questions in the notes or in the chat down below, I will get to those at the end. That just makes it a little bit easier as I move along. I don't have to keep track of the chat log. But if you have questions, please enter in there and we'll talk about them. So without a competitive GPA, students will oftentimes not move forward. The recommendation for students is to have a GPA of 3.5 or higher, but obviously some of the professional schools will admit students whose GPAs are lower. Last time I knew at the vet school, and they've changed it over the last couple of years, but the last I knew at the vet school, the GPA minimum was 2.8, I believe, in order to get an interview. And so that's obviously different than the 3.0. And that applies to, I think, Kansas residents, but not out-of-state students. But, you'll always want to double check those things every year that you apply, because it can change from cycle to cycle. But GPA is not the only thing that they're looking for. They want students to be have a variety of areas. So test scores. Good news is that the GRE is no longer required at K-State. The vet school decided that they were not going to have that as a requirement, but other schools may still require it. My recommendation is for students to apply to 3 to 5 different schools at a minimum. I've had students over the years tell me that they only want to apply to K-State, and I fully respect that decision. My recommendation is 3 to 5, because my argument is, do you want to put all of your eggs in the one K-State basket? The majority of students do when they apply to vet school. And one year I had, there were 3 years in a row where I had a student who applied to K-State's vet program, and he was qualified. And so he applied the first year and he wasn't accepted. And he said, I'm going to talk to the admissions dean, who was Ronnie Elmore before Dr. Ross. I'm going to talk to Dr. Elmore and I'm going to do all those things. We talked to the dean, got this list of things where he could improve, and he did all those things and applied again, and he still wasn't accepted. And I said, well, why are you going to consider now looking at some other programs? And he said, no, my wife's a teacher here. I love K-State, I love Manhattan, I'm not leaving. So he applied a third year, and he actually did get accepted. And so it can happen, absolutely no doubt. Usually if you apply to 3 to 5 different schools, I saw some data that said that if you apply to 6 or more, your chances don't necessarily increase. Students do it. I've had kids apply to 12, 15 different schools. That's a lot of money and a lot of time. But obviously they're spreading their eggs out into a whole bunch of different places in the hopes that at least one program will accept them. So, but for K-State, the GRE is no longer required. And so you guys don't have to worry about that if you only apply here. But other schools, keep in mind, may have that requirement. So recommendations. So vet schools will require that you have a certain number of letters of recommendation. It's extremely important that you guys are aware of the type of individuals each school requires. A lot of them say a professor or a veterinarian or a supervisor or a volunteer coordinator, or they give a list of the different professionals that they want students to have. And sometimes students don't pay attention to that list, and I know that they're not moved forward because they've disregarded some of the instructions. So one strong recommendation for you all is to get connected with a faculty person. It could be in the College of Ag, it could be science, chemistry, biochemistry, biology. But the point is to try to connect with a faculty person so they can write about you. The vet school wants to know, do you show up to class every day? Do you do homework? Do you have initiative? Are you problem solving in class? Are you somebody who takes criticism? How do you do on feedback on the schoolwork? And so science faculty particularly, because you'll be learning in the sciences in vet school, are the ones that can speak the best to that. But obviously sometimes students can also choose non-science. A veterinarian is somebody students want to get to know as well, maybe through volunteer work or work experiences, or maybe through work in a lab. But so you want to pay attention as you're looking at your schools to know who you need to ask to write you a letter of recommendation. My son decides to take a shower right now, so if you hear water in the background, he just got home from football practice. He's 15. Okay, so the interview. So professional schools, vet schools, get thousands of applications. They do hundreds of interviews, and there's only a set number of seats. I believe there's 112 at K-State's vet program. They might have upped that a little bit recently. I'm thinking they might have added 4 or 5. So I don't know the exact number, but it's definitely under 120. And you have vet students applying from all over the country. So, and K-State for a lot of students is not their top choice. So they want to go to Davis or Auburn or Colorado State or Oklahoma State, and K-State's like their safe school. So even though they may receive a lot of applications, not all the students are going to want to come here. So keep that in mind when you're looking at overall numbers of total applicants.
A little bit of a party school.
Oh.
And also, my high school went there.
What?
Hey guys, you might want to mute yourselves. You were unmuted.
So on average, there are about 3 applicants for every seat. And so the things that students can do in the interview is set themselves apart. The Career Center is an office on K-State's campus that offers mock interviews. And so they can sit down with you and actually talk to you about the interview process. They can present you with a list of questions and have you practice. So you're going into an unfamiliar situation with a person that you don't know, and they're asking you questions about, tell us about how you became interested in veterinary medicine. And I can tell you that the 2 solid things is people love sciences and they love animals. And they've always wanted to work with animals for as long as they've known. And including that isn't necessarily a bad thing in your personal statement, but just know that you're going to have to elaborate significantly to set yourself apart. But the interview is one way for you to do that, and you should definitely practice. So service and leadership. So veterinarians provide service all day long to animals and their owners. And so even though students sometimes say that they don't want to work with people, I totally get that sometimes, but they do have to deal with the humans that are on the other side of the animal. And so being able to provide service to other people is essential. And you have to understand that you're giving of yourself. You have to take time and spend an inordinate amount of energy explaining to somebody why they need to give their cat these medications, or why they need to perform this surgery, or convince them that they need to put their animal to sleep because the animal's struggling. And so by being involved in service opportunities as well as leadership, students develop communication skills just by being involved. And I'm here to tell you that sometimes these are uncomfortable things. You know, being in a service position where you have to engage with somebody who's completely different than you is when you're going to grow the most. And I'll tell you right now that it's sometimes I hate doing it, and I get anxious and frustrated and mad about a circumstance or situation, but that is when you are going to grow and learn the most. And the vet school is going to ask you to reflect back on some of those experiences. Tell us about a time where you had a challenging communication situation with someone that you know. And if you're involved in service and leadership, you'll be able to use those experiences to draw from and articulate specific examples. And so looking for meaningful leadership roles, you know, it used to be that leadership was, you know, a person standing in front of the room, telling everybody what to do, and that was what leadership was. But now leadership is about identifying an idea or a goal and establishing a way to accomplish that goal, and then working together as a team. So identifying your own strengths, being aware of other people's strengths, and working together to accomplish a goal. And as you have these experiences while you're an undergrad, you're going to want to write them down. So journal. And, you know, students say, oh, I forget to journal. I don't think it's that relevant. But the important part of doing it, and this will show up again later in my presentation, the important part about doing that is that you'll be able to start identifying themes. So let's say as a sophomore, you're like, okay, I'm going to get serious about this vet process, and I'm going to, you know, volunteer at an animal shelter, and I'm going to try to find research in a lab, and I'm going to see if I can find a vet tech position. So as you have those experiences, let's say that you volunteer at the animal shelter. A friend of mine goes down there and socializes cats, and she keeps track of their personalities. You know, are they social? Are they mean-spirited? Are they shy? Are they high energy? And then she talks about those things when somebody comes in to adopt those animals. And so she gets to know the personalities of cats. My min pin's back there playing with something, if you hear that jumbling around also. And so being able to talk to people and communicate with others, particularly those that are different from you, are going to be really, really important as you get into vet school. In preparing you for vet school, and then also after graduation, while you're working with patients and owners through your practice. So curiosity, I found this quote a long time ago, and I think it's fascinating that Albert Einstein, you know, he's a genius, everybody kind of reveres him, and he wrote, I am neither clever nor especially gifted. I am only very, very curious. And so if you find something that is interesting to you, research it, go into a little bit, you know, dig a little bit deeper about a concept or idea. So let's say you're you're an ASI and you're learning about cow diseases, and something about it sparks your interest that you become fascinated by it. Schedule a meeting and go in and talk to that professor about that topic and try to learn as much as you possibly can. You know, Google it, watch videos, educate yourself about the things that spark your interest. Because again, those will be things that you can draw upon when you write your personal statement. That's the value of journaling, is that you can use that information to write your personal statement, and you can also reflect back on those things before you go in for an interview. And I can tell you that when kids come in and they talk to me, and they're like, I had this experience and this experience, and when they sit up and lean forward, they're animated, they're really excited, like it comes through if a student's had a really meaningful experience. Sometimes students will come in and they're like, yeah, well, you know, I worked on my farm and, you know, did those things. And that's not a lot of energy or excitement. So bring to that experience as much excitement and energy as possible. And that's why you should follow your interests. So be curious and dig into and discover things related to things that are just automatically interesting to you. And, you know, I just take my dog in last week because my min pin has a growth on his chest. And I was really fascinated by the types of questions that the veterinarian asked me. He was really curious about how my dog was acting, and I appreciated that. And so being curious and asking questions and listening, that is really one of the things that I think a lot of individuals lack is really good listening skills. Not listening to respond, but truly listening to what somebody's saying and not thinking about a response automatically in your head. Just truly listen, and then as you move along, ask questions as kind of a pause. That's a really good veterinarian, and this guy that I went to was amazing in that regard. Okay, so stamina. This is one of those things that not a lot of students think about. So in vet school, you're going to be taking, what, 21, 26 credit hours in a semester. And you're going to be, working 8 to 5, and you might have evening commitments and sometimes study on the weekend and study all night. And so you have to build up a kind of a tolerance. And so now is the time as an undergraduate to prepare and develop good study habits, self-discipline, and then also self-care. Because when you get into vet school, you're not going to have nearly the free time that you have as an undergraduate. So what that means is that you can't be burning the candle at both ends in vet school and expect to be, I just totally lost the word, expect to be efficient. That you're going to have to take time and give yourself enough sleep, because you can't be, working at the numbers that you are expected to in vet school and still be successful. So the schools will ask you that. The vet schools are going to want to know, how have you managed your time? What type of study habits have you created? And you're going to have an idea of, well, I set up my hours a certain way and I made sure that I studied. The recommendation is that students study for 2 hours for every 3 credit hour class. So, 2 hours for every 3 credits. So that's 6 hours a week. So for every 3 credit hour class, you should be studying for 6 hours outside of class in order to be the most prepared. That's a lot of time, but that's what you're going to have to do when you're in vet school. You're going to have to pay attention to the details, test yourself, retest yourself, go with a study buddy, and developing those habits now will prepare you for success when you're in vet school. So this is kind of a catch-all. It's kind of the transferable skills. If you go into any vet practice right now, you'll see that that is teamwork. It's all based on teamwork. That the vet tech is working with the veterinarian, who's working with the lab person or the surgeon. He's protecting his bone back here. And so developing team skills. I have students tell me all the time that they don't like working in groups, that people annoy them, that they're frustrating. But that is veterinary medicine, is working in teams. And so developing maybe a callus for working in teams and kind of tempering some of your frustrations that you feel. I feel it too when I work in groups now, that people don't pull their weight, or they don't participate, or they're confused, but healthcare is a team process. And so animals are going to be the same way. So developing maybe not an affinity for, but an appreciation for teamwork. So time management, making sure that you're getting things in on time, making sure that you have good communication skills, that you're speaking with other people who are different from you. Flexibility, that some of you I know are type A personalities, and knowing when things don't go wrong, being okay with finding a way to make it work and maybe not have it be in the direct way that you think it might need to be done. Problem solving, there's a lot of ways to come to a resolution, and there's not just one way. And so making sure that you're looking at ideas outside of maybe the one idea that you have or the one solution you have, incorporating other people, because every patient that comes to you is going to be different, and they're going to require a different approach or a different situation. And so making sure that you're a good problem solver is extremely important. Professionalism, I think that's really important. Don't trash talk your former supervisors or your colleagues, you can talk to a friend, if you want to complain about something. But when I'm in an office, or when I'm in my office, I don't want students complaining about how bad their teachers are. The vet school is not going to appreciate that at all. And I know students struggle sometimes with the way faculty teach or the way that certain supervisors are. I get that. But there's always this level of professionalism that you're going to want to maintain, because the vet school expects you to be that way when you get to their program. So it's good to practice some of those skills now and not just be negative about people in your world and maybe have slagged you. Cultural competency. So as you guys all know, I'm sure that the U.S. is becoming very diverse. And so and the people that you serve are probably not going to look like you. And so having an understanding of what other people live and how they view their culture and the value that that has for them is extremely important. And that's why, again, volunteering in some way, maybe with people who don't speak English, or maybe people who are of a different culture or ethnicity than you are. And by being involved in events and activities and service towards other people, again, you develop an understanding. There's this quote that I have, I should probably include it on this presentation if I ever use it again, that it's hard to hate someone once you hear their story. And I believe that, because if you truly know about the crazy cat lady, and we all make fun of her, and she's, you know, oh my God, why does she have 30 cats and living in squalor and feces everywhere? But if you knew that she, and I worked with somebody who was a crazy cat lady, she really felt that she was giving these cats the best life possible. And she would actually go out and catch feral cats, take them into the animal shelter, have them neutered, pay for everything herself, and then put them back out in the wild. And she would bring, obviously, a lot of them home. But my point is that, you know, we make fun of that, but for her, it was something she felt made the biggest difference in these cats' lives. And so again, I think about being involved in other people, developing an understanding of people who are different from you is extremely important. So writing ability. Oh, I've heard 1,000 times people say, I don't like to write, I don't like to read. Well, in vet school and as an undergraduate, you're going to have to do quite a bit of writing and quite a bit of reading. And so even though it's not something that I personally enjoy, I know that I have to do it, and I work really hard at it. It's a lot of work for me to sit down and write. I'm currently writing my dissertation, and it takes a ton of energy for me to sit down and do it. And so I understand when students say they don't like to write, but as an undergraduate, you should take writing classes that challenge you a little bit, because writing is going to be part of your evaluation when you apply to vet school. I looked the other day, and there's now 3 prompts, 3 personal essays that you have to respond to versus a big long essay. And so the vet school has changed, or VMCAS has actually changed the way that they ask students to write their essays. And so being able to write consistently and clearly on a regular basis is a very important thing. So consider taking advanced writing classes. It'll pay off for you in the long run. So exposure to veterinary medicine. The vet school wants to know that you've actually explored veterinary medicine, that you have gone beyond just going to your own personal animal veterinary appointments. They want to know, they want to see that you've shadowed a great deal, and you should shadow in multiple environments. It's extremely important that you shadow a small animal and a large animal, that you shadow a young veterinarian and then one who's had a practice for 40 years, that you shadow an emergency room or an exotic or a, what would be another example? A large animal practice, a practice that has 15 veterinarians versus one who's solely owned. And the reason that you want to do that is because it gives you a broad understanding of what veterinary health looks like. Too often students will just work at one practice or shadow one veterinarian, and they get this narrow lens of what veterinary medicine is. And it is so much broader than that. Students could work in research. They could join the Army. There's lots of different opportunities, but you don't know that until you actually do some shadowing at the undergraduate level. I also encourage students to keep their minds open when they're looking at choosing a specialty, especially as an undergraduate student. A lot of students say, well, I'll have a mixed practice, or I'll do small animal. But once you get into vet school, you'll learn about so many other new opportunities that you can't even think about right now. And so having a kind of a general direction or a passion is great, but also be willing to kind of keep your mind open, because there'll be things that present themselves that you'll be like, wow, I never even thought about that. I mean, I didn't even know that pocket pets even had veterinarians, right? Like, who treats a hedgehog? Well, lots of people do, but I didn't know that until about 5 years ago. So that's just one example of me personally learning about, you know, treating hamsters and those types of things. So vet schools strongly recommend or require some type of animal related experience. And that doesn't necessarily have to be on a farm. A lot of kids have been, you know, like I was, have tons of animal experience by living on a farm. But there are other city kids that don't, and that's okay. but students have to find a way to get that animal care experience. And that is typically done through volunteer work or through work experiences like a vet tech position. I know that the vet offices around Manhattan, several of them will hire pre-vet students to work in their practice. And it could be, large animal, small animal. I know that there are pre-vet students that work at the vet hospital, maybe in the rabies lab or in the pharmacy there as a tech at the vet hospital. So there's lots of opportunities for students to work in an animal-related environment, but also don't discount the volunteering side of it. Again, doing an animal rescue, it's one piece of it. Obviously, you want to try to explore and get some more animal exposure, but showing that you're interested and doing some of that hard work, even if it's just cleaning kennels and working your way up into a volunteer experience. I had a student a couple years ago who she had her degree in fashion design from K-State, and she worked in retail for a few years, and she's like, I hate this. Like, I want to be a veterinarian. And so she went down to Russell Wright's animal shelter, and she said, I will do anything you want me to do. And they said, okay, clean out these kennels. And so she did all the grunt work, cleaning out these kennels. And then slowly moved up, and I think she became the volunteer coordinator for maybe Cat Tails, which is a cat, or maybe she was involved in Cat Tails, which is a cat rescue. And so it was just putting yourself out there, finding opportunities that work directly with animals. And she got accepted, and she may be done now, but she might still be in vet school. But she was worried that she didn't have the right experiences, but she was willing to do the grunt work, and so that's what she did. Okay, so trust and ethics. So I think sometimes this also comes with maturity, but we're looking to our veterinarians to provide us honest guidance and care for our animals. And so by covering something up or whitewashing something, sometimes it's never the right decision in a health-related environment, particularly when it relates to your animals. And so sometimes you have to think through some of the ethical issues that you guys face. So one of them right now I know is wearing masks, and the recommendation by the university and the CDC and lots of other governmental agencies to wear a mask. And so, going to parties without a mask isn't necessarily being very ethical to the rest of the world. And that's my soapbox. I'm sorry if I disregarded anybody, but that's my strong opinion of wearing a mask. I have a husband who has rheumatoid arthritis, and so he's in a vulnerable population. So I'm kind of sensitive about that. But it's also moral issues related to, taking care of your friends, or somebody making a mistake, or you being able to keep a secret. So think about, as moral issues or dilemmas present themselves in your lives, really try to do what's best. And sometimes that may require you to talk to somebody about it, maybe a parent or a trusted figure in your life, and just say, I'm kind of dealing with this, and I want to make the right decision. I don't want to be just dismissive or disregard, what's happening right now, and I need a little help. And people are pretty willing to come to your aid and offer you some feedback, because those are going to be very important skills that you have when you become a veterinarian. And kind of a side story about that, we used to go to a veterinarian, and I liked him okay, but he actually said one time that he came to a pre-vet club meeting, and he didn't know who I was because I was sitting in the audience with the pre-vet students, and he said something along the lines of, well, you need to upsell all of your products in your practice, because that's the only way you're going to make money these days, is to sell these products. And he really pushed a certain type of food and a vitamin and all these things when we had taken our animal in. And I thought, what a jerk. I mean, that might be your business model, but that's not a veterinary practice. And so those two things to me were very different. And obviously we changed from him after I heard him say that, because I felt that he was, running his business, but also being kind of playing on the emotions of patients and, their owners, which I think is kind of inappropriate. But that is a business model, and some people choose to do that, and that's their right. They just don't necessarily get my business. Okay, so here's kind of this puzzle again, kind of talking about each one of these things, GPA, test scores, etc. And I will turn it over, and then we can look at maybe answering some questions.
I know we had a question pop up earlier in the chat. Nadia says, I'm currently applying and K-State requires a personal statement. Do do you have tips on writing one if you have never before? How do you separate the paragraphs and what should go in them?
So the way, so are you talking about VMCAS or the secondary attached to K-State's secondary application? Does that make sense? Nadia, maybe
Nadia says that she's talking about the secondary application.
So what I would recommend that students do when they're looking at responding to the essays or the prompts that they're given is just sit down, read the question, and free write. Don't worry about grammar or stringing things together properly. When you read that question, what comes to your mind as far as you wanting to respond? And if you write, maybe for, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes, and then go to the next and free write, and then, you know, make sure that you address all of the very specific questions. You can leave that alone for a day or two and then come back to it and think, oh yeah, I need to add more back to that, or I forgot about this important topic. And so making sure that you're giving yourself enough time to reflect back on that information, I think is helpful. And just sitting down and free writing and then talking about it with someone, you know, maybe find a friend or maybe another club officer or club member to say, this is what I'm thinking, and just talk about it. Here's another pointer that I have dealt with a lot, is that kids will come in and their personal statements won't be anything like their experiences. So I don't even sometimes read the personal statements when a student comes in to talk with me about it. Well, I don't read it at first. I put it down and I say, so tell me about why you got interested in veterinary medicine. What is your passion? How did you get interested in this? And they'll give me this really great story, but it doesn't say that in the personal statement. And I'm like, well, why didn't you include that? Well, I don't know. I just didn't think it would work, or I didn't know how to phrase it. Well, you just phrased it. So sometimes talking about things, and again, I think it goes back to some of those writing skills for people, myself included, that if I say it out loud and I just kind of like free form it, then I can come up with ideas without having the pressure of it having been written properly the first time. And then you obviously want to go back and edit and you know, maybe ask another person, ask your family members, people close to you. You know, I don't remember the questions for the secondary application off the top of my head.
So actually, I think it might be, I believe it is a secondary, or it's like the one attached to VMCAST, but all it says is personal statement, and then
Mom, I'm doing English homework and I'm in a pre-vet club meeting. I can't really talk. Love you. Bye.
Aaron, can you mute yourself, please?
Oh, sorry.
So it just says personal statement. It doesn't really give a clear, like, questions that you can follow. So I just haven't ever written a personal statement before. And I was just curious of how it should flow. I've looked up kind of examples of personal statements, and I know we're kind of approaching the deadline, and I'm applying to 5 schools. So I still have a couple essays left to do, but the deadline is, you know, next Tuesday, which is nerve-wracking. But it doesn't really give clear.
I'm going to look this up. Just usually they give some kind of prompt, some type of guidance in some regard. And I'm not saying that it's there. I'm going to see if I can try to find it. So you said you think it is in VMCAS?
Here, let me see if I can pull it up on my computer, and then I can always share my screen if possible too. Let me see if I can find what I was looking at, because I know I had you know, kind of copied and pasted everything into Google Docs so I could work on it on the go if I'm like, you know, have the time on my phone.
Animal science has a career prep class that the teacher gave us an example of a personal statement. I can like send in the group chat. It's really good. Like one that
that would be really helpful.
Yeah, I can find it and send it out.
Thank you. Yeah. I think I did take that class, but she didn't really go much in detail at that moment for personal statements.
I'm just shocked that they don't have some kind of prompt. Like, how are you supposed to know what to talk about, right? That doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm looking on.
That's why when I started mine, I was confused between the 3 questions that were actually on the VEMCAS and the actual personal statement. That's why that email I sent you like early on, I was like, so are these the personal statements or?
Okay, Kayla.
So
Okay.
it says in the K-State program that's attached to VEMCAST, it says there's 2 of them that's for the K-State, and it just says describe a time in your life when diversity and equity impacted your situation. And then the other ones, please share an experience in your life when you've demonstrated perseverance. But then if you go to just the personal information and you go to essays, oh wait, maybe it's the actual supplemental. Sorry. I'm all over the place. I have so many tabs for vet school open that sometimes it gets.
Someone just put the prompt in the chat, actually, like the whole thing that it says. I think what you're looking for, Nadia.
Okay, so was that written somewhere, or was that just like an assumption of like, or yeah, that's what it says, like personal statement, other section, please upload a brief. Yeah, that's where I was seeing that. Okay.
So then it lets the admissions committee learn about you, your interest, your adult decision to apply to vet school and your future plans. So may also use personal statement to explain any challenges. So, and 500 words isn't much. So brevity is important. So keeping things brief is something that they value because they'll again read hundreds of these.
I'm not quite sure where I'm seeing where I'm supposed to upload the personal statement now that I had it written down in, my Google Docs, but because I see the brief for.
I just sent a picture in the group me of an example of personal statement.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Michaela, do you have any insight? Because I do know that we talked about this.
Yeah, that was because I'd written the 2,000 word one, and then I had to compress it down to that 500 word statement. Basically, what I ended up doing was I just kind of wrote about my very first experience with an animal and what that made it grow into and why I became so passionate then, and kind of what I.
Yeah, that makes sense. So Nadia, do you feel like that kind of helps answer it? I can meet with you individually and kind of talk through each one of the components if you want to. I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, that would be great. I could set something up with you. I know, like I said, the deadline's approaching very quickly.
Yeah.
So if you're free tomorrow, or if you can put your email in the chat, I can shoot you an email because I don't have class tomorrow.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Thank you.
Hey, Gayla, while I have you on here kind of a little face-to-face, I just wanted to pick your brain. I know I sent you that email about the transcript issue. Ordered my transcript from K-State through Parchment to be sent to VEMCAS directly.
Yeah.
And I went ahead and ordered another one Monday and had it sent again. And I have both confirmation receipts saying that they were sent and received by VEMCAS, yet on my VEMCAS application, they still don't have it in the system. And when I emailed VEMCAS directly, they just keep replying with it needs to come directly from the school. And it's like,
do they have a phone number you can call? I know some of these programs have shut down their phone numbers and only required by email, but if they have a phone number, maybe call them. They're usually pretty receptive to having students call VEMCAS and clarify things. I don't know if anybody else has done that, but typically they're pretty receptive to it. But if you've sent it, then they should see it as in their system. And maybe the person doing the email, I don't know, didn't look in the right place, but talking to somebody, I think would be helpful.
Okay, I think I missed all that because my phone just like reconnected.
I would say call them, because I know that they've been very receptive to have students reaching out to them. And so they can, look in the system and say to you on the phone, this is what I see.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll give that a go because, yeah, with the deadline fast approaching, I don't want to miss out just because it's not there.
And sometimes, like, I mean, my son will not call anybody to save his soul. He's like, why are you calling them? And I'm like, it's just easier to order food if I call them. You just need to order online. So, I know people are kind of used to email or ordering online, but sometimes just pick up the phone and talk to somebody, because that gets you may have to wait, of course, but that may get you a more direct answer, hopefully a little more quickly.
Yeah, and I think Jamie, one of our officers, also had some issues with her transcript, if I remember right. Is that right, Jamie?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out how to get them all sent in. It was a whole thing. I finally got them sent in, but some of mine took a really long time to get accepted, even though like I would get like an email from the college I sent it from saying like it's been sent, and it would take like a week before VMCAS emailed me and they're like, okay, we accepted it. Like it took forever for some of them to come in, and then like other ones only took a day or two.
So for those of you who are not applying this year, keep that in mind. The application service opens in January, and if you can get it done, I know you have to send like updated transcripts in either late summer, first part of August. But try to get these things done early on, because I know that you get closer to the deadline, they will take forever to get some of this stuff input. And it's just because they're backlogged, because they're dealing with a lot of application issues and questions. So getting it done early on, have it done before the fall semester even starts, is my recommendation. That we don't have to, and even then it might be a lag, but at least it's done.
Our next question, if I'm going in the right order, it was from Brianna. She said, for a student interested in working with zoo animals, what advice would you give them for looking for veterinarian/clinics in that field?
I would say, where's home for that person? Maybe do they have a zoo close to their home? That would be one of my best suggestions, and try to volunteer there. Agencies are a lot more likely to allow students to shadow if the student has committed themselves in some other service way to the agency. So if you're volunteering, maybe on the weekends doing animal education with grade school kids or Boy Scout troops or whoever comes, that gives you an in with the veterinarians that are in that practice. And because exotics is such a small practice, when you think about the exotic veterinarians that are in the world, they can be connected. Those veterinarians are going to be connected to other veterinarians. And so maybe it's a matter of you then, I don't know, go on a spring break trip to your aunt's house in Texas, and you're able to go to the Dallas World Aquarium because your vet at your local zoo knew somebody at the Dallas World Aquarium, and you can, do some shadowing down there. And so it's finding those personalized connections. It's the best way that I have found for students to do it. Sometimes it's cold calls, and those aren't always the most comfortable things to be doing. But in cold calls may be that you send an email or send a formal letter in the mail through snail mail to an agency and just present yourself and say, I'm going to be back home next summer. I would really like to be involved, and see if you can get a response from that. But do not be deterred by somebody not returning an email. So if somebody doesn't send you an email, then that's on you. You need to be a little bit more persistent in trying to find the activity or secure the activity that you're looking for. And it may be making a phone call, going in and saying, I've emailed this person a couple of times. I just want to touch base. But don't just send one email and then let it go and think that, oh, well, nobody emailed me back, so I guess I can't do it. You got to be persistent sometimes. And sometimes that takes extra energy. That takes an oomph that sometimes students, that people don't have. But that's important for you, a skill for you to have, especially if you're going to be working in veterinary medicine. Persistence.
And I know here at K, Yeah, I know here at K-State, at the Sunset Zoo, Dr. Carpenter at the vet school, um, you might, if you're interested in doing stuff while you're in Manhattan, you might be interested in reaching out to him. I don't know exactly how much work he does with undergraduate students, but even if him himself doesn't reach out to undergraduate students or work with them, he might be able to send you in the right direction to at least get in contact with other exotics wildlife veterinarians that you might be able to use, because he's very well renowned throughout the country.
Yeah, that's great. So, I mean, how many zoos? I'm assuming there's multiple zoos in Houston, Brianna. Hopefully you can maybe make a connection with somebody down there. And even if it's like a wildlife sanctuary or trying to think of some other places. There's Hope Ranch here in Manhattan. It deals with horses, but you know, it's a little bit different than maybe the small animal practice that most students would be familiar with. So Nadia, so that's great. You worked at a wildlife center. Well, that's wonderful. Yeah. And sometimes doing these activities means that you have to give up something, you know, else that you have wanted to do or you had planned to do. I'm working with a student right now who, you know, got really emotional this past spring because I suggested a summer class and doing some other activities, and they're lake people. They go to the lake all the time, all summer long. And, you know, she had this opportunity that she was maybe going to turn down. And I said, you know, I understand that you're a lake person and that you love it, but this opportunity like this isn't going to come around very often. So you need to take advantage of these things. Sometimes that means giving up jobs at a local restaurant in order to do something else, you know, related to lab work or vet tech or something. And so there's trade-offs sometimes that students have to give in order to make sure that they're meeting the qualifications to get into vet school. And sometimes it may be that if you're not willing to give something up, then maybe vet school is not a priority. And that's okay. I mean, that's not, you know, the end of the world. It's just a matter of kind of accepting, like, where are your values? What's going to be most important to you? Giving up a job where you make, you know, $300 in tips a week is a difficult thing to do. Maybe to go down to a job where you make 150, but then that would require a student to budget differently. You know, and those are difficult decisions, but you know, making sure you're doing the things to get into vet school, if this is truly what you want, may require you to have some sacrifices. And I say that in the most loving way possible. I know these are decisions. Students cry all the time in my office because, you know, we have these hard discussions about what is most important to you. Do you want to be a veterinarian? Then let's look how we can tweak these other things that may be interfering with your ability to accomplish these other things that are essential for you to get in. And, you know, if students want to have a conversation with me about that, if any of you want to talk, send me an email and we can set up an appointment and we can kind of go through your individual circumstance. You know, I never force a student to make a decision. I just provide options. And then you guys ultimately have to kind of decide which path is most important to you.
Yeah, sometimes there's greater benefits in doing something that you didn't, than you're not used to.
Yeah.
I think our next question was from Maya. She says, is the vet school still doing shadowing because of COVID? The last I heard, they were not.
Last I heard, they were not either. There's very few places that are doing shadowing, and there's really limited volunteer work right now because of the virus. And that's just a reality that we're kind of dealing with. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't look for them or pay attention to opportunities or find ways. Animal rescues go on all the time. So I know that the animal shelters and cattails and other agencies are always looking for volunteers. And so those things may continue. But some of the, you know, they're just going to be a real limit on some of the other opportunities just because of the situation.
And then Maya also asked later, she said, I have applied to a couple of job postings at K-State's Veterinary Health Center. There is no email or phone number to contact. Do you know who I could contact to follow up on my application?
If you can find out who the department is, like let's say you apply to the rabies lab, you can look up the rabies lab phone number and then contact them directly and ask to speak to the HR office. Or when you call or send an email to the department, just say you're following up on an application. Is there somebody they could recommend that you talk to? So I guess finding the department that where you applied and reaching out to them directly would be my best guess.
And then it looks like if I'm reading through all of these comments correctly, our next question is from Michaela. She says, do you have any idea how the Zoom interview process is going to be set up for this application cycle?
Oh, I have no idea. These are strange times. I know that even some of the vet schools are doing virtual tours, where you just walk around with somebody and they show you a video, or virtually walk around with somebody, or they show you a video of what the agency's like. So I'm guessing that it will all be through Zoom. That's going to be my guess. So, but I have not heard how it's going to be set up this year, so I don't know for sure. But that's my guess.
Well, I wanted to try and keep it kind of professional, but I know like trying to find the right spot in your house to kind of look neat and with children and dogs and all that running around, I'm going.
Yes. Yeah, so it would be a matter of planning. My background is a mess. Like I can't even attempt to try to keep it that way. I have a Zoom a webcam on top of my desktop, and it has this wide angle. And I've tried to keep tidy, and it's just not going to happen. So you guys can see my big mess back there. But trying to have as few, maybe having the most solid color in the background, making sure that you're in a comfortable situation. I don't think sitting on a sofa is necessarily comfortable, but some people may be that way. Someplace where you're sitting upright, and that you can, have proper kind of spinal alignment, and because you can lean forward and you can ask questions and you can listen intently, and try to just exclude as many distractions as you possibly can. Dogs bark, people talk, moms call. I mean, it's just the nature of Zoom. So trying to limit that as much as possible, and kind of plan ahead of time, I think would be helpful.
Yeah, I think, because I would also think about, it's going to be very similar about how vet schools across the world do interviews for students internationally. So for instance, I remember a couple of years ago, Ross and St. George's University were here, and they do like Zoom or Skype calls all the time for their interviews. So since they are so adept to doing it because they have been doing it before the pandemic,
right?
You might reach out if you know anybody or any veterinarian that has applied to Ross, or even reaching out to Ross themselves to see how they have done it in the past, because they have been using online virtual interviews for a very long time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
At this point, I don't see any more questions. So does anybody want to add any other comments, concerns, questions that Gayla can answer right now? She did leave her email in the chat below, if you guys want to email her later.
I'm behind an email right now. I apologize for this. I'm just behind. I don't mean to be that way. I promise you all, if you send me an email, I will respond, but it probably won't be till next week, except for, was it Brianna or Jamie? Somebody that needed kind of immediate assistance. If you need immediate help with problem solving something related to the application, put that in the message and hit like high importance or something. But if you email me about something else, it might take me, it will be next week before I can get to it, because I'm just behind.
She does get back to you, I promise.
I always do. I'm just delayed. I try 48 hours. It's just not happening right now.
Yeah. Mm-mm. At least it's not a enrollment time.
Yes, yes, that's absolutely true. Yeah.
There's another question from Brianna. It says, do you have any advice for students with a service animal working in the veterinary field?
Could you elaborate a little bit more? Like you personally have a service animal? Do you want to divulge that right now? Maybe you want to email me and we can schedule an appointment and talk about that privately if you don't want to share more. My eyes are watering really bad.
Brianna said, I am getting a service animal, so I was wondering how it would work. I'm assuming she's talking about how disruptive it would be during vet school, I'm assuming, or like as a practitioner, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, she said yes.
So my background's actually disability issues, so help people with disabilities get jobs. So I know a little bit about this. If it's a reasonable accommodation to help you manage whatever circumstance you're dealing with, most situations it's going to be fine. I think communicating up front with either the vet school or the clinic that you work in or your patients, making sure that they know ahead of time that you have a service animal. You don't have to divulge to the general public the reason for the animal. You may need to give some details at the vet school if they ask for it, but it would be as a way of not discounting you, but as a way of trying to making sure that your needs were met and that they were aware of the situation or circumstances you were dealing with. But generally speaking, service dogs can go anywhere, that a human goes. And so I don't think that having a service dog is going to be a problem for you, either in vet school or out practicing.
Yeah, Brianna said thank you.
Yeah. Your dog will fit right in if you wherever practice you're at. I even went to a dermatologist once and he had two big dogs, and two big dogs, like 150-pound dogs that worked in his office. Dermatologist. So they're everywhere. And they may have been service dogs, I don't know, but.
Okay. Any other questions, guys? And you can always, I think at this point, we can probably, since I think we're caught up on all the questions, we can, if Gayla's all right with it, if you just want to like pop in and unmute yourself instead of typing. No? Okay. All right. Well, if we don't have any other questions right now, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to start doing officer reports where we're going to officially introduce all of our officers for this year. Before we do that, I just wanted to say thanks to Gayla for coming and just talking with us tonight and giving us that really helpful information.
Go ahead. I'm interrupting.
Oh, I was just going to say, I know I have always enjoyed talking to you and getting your input on things.
Well, this is my job. I work full-time as an academic advisor. I teach 2 classes, but they're 1 credit hour courses. One of them is a freshman class for students who are exploring, and the other one is similar to the class that was mentioned earlier, is that we have a junior level class where we help students write their personal statements, plan for letters of recommendation, kind of the whole application. And I'll send that out in the spring or later this fall if students want enrollment for the spring. But this is what I do. I help students accomplish their professional goals. And, if a student wants to get into vet school, then we try to make a plan for students to accomplish that. So please see me as a resource. I'm happy to meet or answer questions or, just reach out to me because I don't know you need anything if I don't hear from you.
Yep. Thanks, Gayla. Maddie, who's our secretary, I'm going to have her screen share real quick. So a couple of the officers, we have created a PowerPoint for tonight just to give the officer reports and then all of the officers that are here right now will go ahead and we will introduce ourselves and talk about how what positions we are, how we're going to help you guys in the club, and just our general positions. Okay, so I'll have Maddie screen share really quick if she can.
Hi, sorry, it's being weird. Let me see if I can figure this out.
Oh.
Okay, yeah, I don't know what just happened there.
Yep, I saw. I was like, where'd she go?
Let's see. Okay. I don't know how to use Google Docs.
I think if you just go go one by one, yeah, that'll be fine. So as most of you know, you've seen me communicating with you guys a lot. I'm Caitlin. I'm your president this year. I'm going to be the person, for the most part, that you guys touch base with if you guys have any concerns. I am also going to be leading all of the meetings this year just to make sure that we have a place to go. If you can see on this, as you can see on the screen, the biggest thing right now is that as we, throughout the year, we're going to be doing Zoom meetings while I and the other officers continue to monitor the coronavirus that's happening right now. If by chance, because I know there have been flurries right now of everyone talking about how school might shut down again, if there are many other outbreaks, we are going to continue doing Zoom meetings. I know last year when the pandemic initially broke out and we all left school, Pre-Vet Club kind of just went away and we didn't have any other meetings. Because we have all kind of adapted since then, we're going to continue having meetings over Zoom instead of just stopping altogether. So we'll continue to monitor, and we'll obviously let you guys know what we decide. If we think it's getting better, when we decide to, if and when we decide to have in-person meetings, or if we have to continue doing Zoom meetings for the remainder of the semester or the remainder of the year. So yeah, I'm gonna have, I kind of talked to the other officers earlier tonight. I told them it makes me feel very first grade teacherish, but to have them talk about one interesting fact about themselves. I already introduced my dog, which is usually my interesting fact, so I won't bore you guys with that again, and he's also currently out of the room. But my interesting fact is I actually played violin from 5th grade all the way to my senior year of high school, and I kind of dibble dabble in it just as kind of a hobby now and then. But I played in an orchestra from 5th grade to my senior year of high school. And that took me to Chicago and Dallas for competitions. So yeah.
All right, so I'm Maddie. I'm your guys' secretary. So I basically just like track all of your attendance. So make sure you have to attend 60% of meetings to be considered an active member in that list that gets sent to the vet school. So as long as you're on Zoom, you're fine. If you ever have to miss a meeting, just make sure you watch the video. that we post within 24 hours and just comment on it so that we know that you watched it in the right amount of time. And my fun fact is that I adopted a cat about like 2 months ago that came into the clinic that I worked at because the owner, he has herpes and he had like a lot of respiratory issues. So she just couldn't really afford to take care of him. So I took him in because she was going to euthanize him. And I think we have a little hammock in our porch area and he likes to sit on it. So he's out there. But yeah, that's about me.
Hey guys, I'm Grace. I'm one of the fundraising chairs, Trinity is the other one, but basically we're going to coordinate at least 3 fundraising opportunities per semester. We will have more information about our first fundraising opportunity next meeting, so be on the lookout for information on that. And then I guess an interesting fact about me is I jump horses.
Hi guys. I can't get my camera to work because I'm on my phone and I don't know why it won't work. But I'm Trinity and I am the fundraising chair with Grace. And like she said, we'll have more information about our fundraising ideas. And then just a reminder to make sure you pay your dues. A fun fact about me, it's not really that interesting, but I just have a pet betta fish that I've had for almost 2 years now, over 2 years. Yeah, so.
Hi guys, I'm Demi, and then me and Jordan are the community service chairs. So we have several community service options coming up right now. You guys all got the information about the Red Cross volunteers, or I was an email about something. But there's also another opportunity. I can send the link out in the group chat and then we can probably also send it out over email. It's called zooniverse.com. It's really interesting. It's technically community service, and what it is it's citizen science. And so you get onto the website and you participate in a project. Most of the projects are like identifying parts of a photo or objects in a photo, and it helps researchers, and they're just trying to get a broad spectrum of opinions on what's going on in these photos. And so I'll put the link on the group meeting and we'll probably get it sent out through email too. But all you have to do is go in and then create an account. It's free to create an account. It's just how they keep track of how many projects you're involved in. And so after you create an account, just take part in one project or another, do a little bit of it, and then you can screenshot it and then send it over, take a picture of the screen and send it over, and that way you can get your community service point. And then Jordan has more information on the other community service projects. A fun fact about me is that I have a twin that goes to KU, and she is the president of the KU sailing team, so I'm her sailing buddy. So yeah, that's that.
Hi everyone, I'm Jordan. So I am the other community service chair. And I guess the one thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is the American Red Cross blood drive that Kansas State hosts every year. So next week, they still need volunteers for Tuesday and Thursday. There was a sign-up sheet sent out in the group chat and GroupMe that you can still sign up for. There are spots that are taken, but there are still plenty of available places to be filled. They could really use our help. They need a lot of volunteers, especially for the Thursday time slot. Please, if you have any more questions, feel free to email me about that and I can give you more information. But yeah, so for right now, next week, they just really need volunteers to help with the blood drive. I guess a fun fact about me, the most exciting thing that I tell people is that I'm left-handed, but also kind of ambidextrous. So I guess that's my super fun thing.
I also worked with Jordan over the summer. She worked at my clinic, and she's a great time, fun times.
Okay, I'm Kylie. I'm the special events chair. So basically I coordinate all of our speakers. Like I coordinated Gayla to speak with us tonight. And really all I have is if you know anyone or you work with anyone that might want to speak at one of our meetings, you can feel free to reach out to me and then I can reach out to them, or you can give them my email, whatever is easiest for you. So I'll probably put my email in the group chat just so it's easier to access. But yeah, and I guess my fun fact is that I just got a dog last week. So she was running away from her farm. So we decided that she should be an indoor dog.
Okay, hey guys, my name is Kirsten. I'm the communications chair. So I'll send out all the announcements to the club, whether it's through the email or in the group me. So if you have any announcements that you need to make to send out to the whole club, just contact me, and I put my email on there as well. And then I guess my fun fact, my dog is actually staying with me for the week. So she's right here, but I won't have her for the rest of the year, so.
Hi, I'm Courtney, the zoo liaison. Right now, there's probably not going to be a zoo trip this semester at least because there's so many outbreaks constantly happening. Like there was just an update of we're not having any more Greek-like things through the whole month of September. So we will try and do that either the very end of the semester or more than likely next semester if it allows. The fun fact about me is I bake way too often. Like I just made edible cookie dough during this meeting.
Hey everyone, I'm Brittany Salisbury. I am the ag rep. So I go to the ag meetings and basically just represent the pre-vet club. And then I report back to you guys. So at our previous one, we had AFA come and talk to us, and she just discussed all the opportunities that it provides and all that good stuff. So if you guys would be interested in it, then you can go, and her contact is there at the bottom. It just provides like great opportunities for different careers in like just with different animal aspects. There's different like paths that she discusses as well. There's scholarship opportunities, leadership events, and all that good stuff. So if you guys would be interested in joining that or learning more information on it, her contact is there at the bottom and you can just get in touch with her. And then I guess fun fact, I guess she just kind of follows me around everywhere. This is my cat. I adopted her last year. And she really likes to attack my hair when I'm sleeping. So I got a nice little scratch from her the other day. So fun fact, she just likes to eat my hair.
Hey everybody, I'm Weston. I'm this year's treasurer. I don't have a slide, but I don't have much to say. I pretty much manage the money and funds and stuff for this year. A fun fact about me is I have a freakishly large collection of Legos, and I brought some of them up here to Manhattan. So I got cars and trains and all sorts of stuff. Following up on club dues earlier, it's going to be, for this semester, it's going to be $20 for the year. We have two options. $20 for the whole year, or if you only want to just stay in the club for first semester just to like test stuff, it's only $15. Club dues will be through Venmo. I'll send the link out, more information after the meeting in the group me, and that they'll be due 2 meetings from now. So not this next meeting, but the meeting after that. So that's approximately 4 weeks.
All right, and then 2 of our officers weren't able to be here, or one of them was here earlier. One of them was Jamie. She had to leave a little bit earlier because she had to go take a test. And then our vice president Tristan wasn't able to be here. He's currently at work. So Jamie kind of had me give a little paragraph about her. what she wanted to say is she is our historian this year. If you guys knew Liz last year, the person that would post all of the stuff on Instagram, she is the historian, so she will be posting once she gets it all of the sign-in stuff from Liz. She will be getting the Instagram, hopefully a Twitter, and the Facebook. So she's going to be posting on that a lot more. She's also the one that makes the meeting announcements. If you guys saw that with like the little cat and dog that we sent out, Jamie made that. She also wanted me to say that her interesting fact about herself is that when she was younger, she used to have 2 parakeets, 5 dogs, 2 cats, 2 mini ponies when she was younger. She also said that we kind of talked about earlier, she is applying this cycle. So she wanted me to tell you guys that she is definitely a really good resource if you guys have any questions. And she said that you can feel free to shoot her a message anytime if it's about schoolwork, applying. I think she also said that she has worked at a vet clinic before, so she's a really good resource for you guys. And then actually, I think I just got a message from Tristan, so he might be on his way. Let me check real quick. No, he told me he's still stuck at his clinic. So I, and a lot of you have also known Tristan for many years. So I'll kind of just give a synopsis on him real quick. He's our VP this year. He is my right-hand man. So he is going to be, goodbye, Gayla. He's going to be another like go-to person if you guys ever have any questions. He and I discuss multiple things. He's going to be, right now he's currently working on getting everything ready for us to order shirts. So soon he's going to be probably sending out a message to you guys about making designs for the shirts. We've done that in for the past couple of years where we've opened it up to you guys just so that you guys, can have some creative freedom and feel like you have contributed like a pretty big something to the club. So I'm sure he's going to be working on that, sending that out to you guys soon. I'll just tell my favorite interesting fact about Tristan is that he can make cricket sounds. And at the next meeting, I urge all of you to make him do it because he's very stage fright and it's kind of funny. But he does make a very convincing cricket sound, hence why his nickname is Cricket. He also is a great opportunity, or he's a great resource for you guys. He currently works at not only a emergency hospital in Topeka, he also works at a small animal practice in Topeka. So he's a great resource if you guys have any questions about getting in touch with any veterinarians. So I think that is that for those 2 officers. The only other thing I wanted to mention tonight is we have kind of mentioned about, we've kind of mentioned active member status before. So the things to have active member status and what it means. What it means is that at the end of the year, we will be sending a list of active members to the vet school. It's a list that as long as you make active member status, they will go through and they check to see if you were a great participant in the club, that you weren't just here some of the time, that you actually got to meet your officers and take part in the club. How you achieve active member status is you have to obtain 1 community service point, 1 fundraising point, and 1 social events point. And then obviously, Weston just talked about it, you have to pay your dues. So that gets you the list into the vet school. It also gets you your t-shirt, which your dues pay for. so that you can kind of show off that you're in the club. But yeah, so to become an official active member of the club, you have to get those 3 points, pay your dues, and then the final thing is you have to attend at least 60% of the meetings, like Maddie was saying earlier. And we do keep pretty good track of it. Throughout this entire thing, I've been scrolling through all of the participants in this meeting. I think Sally, the 3 points are community service, fundraising, and social events. Community service, you get those by attending any of the community service opportunities that we have, like going to the blood drive. The fundraising point, any of those opportunities that we're going to have throughout the semester. And then social events is going to be fun this year because obviously social distancing. So we will probably find some way to do either a social distance or a virtual social event so that you guys can all get your social event point so that you can become an active member. Let me look through the questions one more time. All right. And then is there any questions about like officer positions, like what each of us do, or like active member status, how the rest of the year is going to go, anything like that? If not, you guys always know where to reach us, and now that you kind of know what each of the officers do and how to reach us, then I think this meeting, we can go ahead and call it quits. So we will see you guys in 2 weeks at our next meeting. So I think that's it. I also wanted to apologize. I know I gave you kind of like a weird Zoom meeting thing, so I wanted to apologize for that. I got into the meeting and I was like, I did something wrong. Something's not right here. So I just wanted to apologize for that.
Are you going to be putting the video on the chat or the group me? Because I missed the first 50 minutes.
I am recording it, and it will be going on the YouTube channel that the last meeting was at, and I will repost the YouTube link so that you guys can watch it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna run through one more time to show just like the participants so that Maddie can see who all was here. And then, yeah, so without further ado, we will see you guys in 2 weeks. Bye.
Thank you.
Yep, see you in 2 weeks.